So good morning everyone. We have brushed up with the modules with question papers as well. I just wanted to deal with you people one of the case study related to the strain gauge measurements, how it has been used in some companies or industries whatsoever. Even I have few more links for load cell and all. Let us discuss one for today. I'll just share my screen for you all. Hope the screen is visible for you guys. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so it is basically a case study on strain gauge measurements, right? So it is being used to identify some large force tension in concrete beams. So in a project of railway support structure. So based on that, an article was published in the year 2003 from one of the professor in Ghent University with an co-authorship with Philip Van Bogart. So it was a mutual collaborative work what they have disclosed, and we have the paper published and it has been uploaded in the ResearchGate as well. Since I am a member in ResearchGate, I just gathered the things so that I can discuss with you guys. So whenever you know a paper, you have to study the papers related to ongoing technologies also with respect to your subject. So it will come to know exactly how these devices are being used outside. It could be in any project basically or in any company or industry. So you will come to know the wide area of application related to the devices what you are studying or any measuring instruments for that matter. So it could be like for force, pressure measurement, your temperature measurement, strain measurement, yeah, whatever it is. Okay, so currently we are dealing with strain gauge measurement in one of the project of railway support structure. So it is basically dealing with the beam structure. Okay, so how these tension which come across in beam is being measured by using our strain gauge. So in a paper you should be able to understand what the paper exactly tells you, so that you can understand just by reading the abstract part of it, because abstract will give you the entire skeleton picture about what the paper want to tell you exactly. Okay, so here let us just go up with the abstract of the research paper. So what does this paper mainly concerns about? So this paper is concerned with the use of strain gauges as a control mechanism on the effectiveness of post-tensioning of large concrete beams. So whenever on the large concrete beams which has been structurized by the railway project, when the tensioning part which come across is being measured by using strain gauges, because it is used as a part of roof of a cut and cover tunnel. So usually there will be some tunnel channels also. So above the tunnel channels you'll be having there'll be some remote places where you'll be having huge rocks and where the vehicles cannot pass into. So they will just curve out the tunnel and provide a way for the vehicles to move on, right? So on the route, so the tension which has been created on the roof of this tunnel is been identified. So since it is related to an railway structure, so we can assume that the roof, the tension which is coming across the roof of the tunnel is associated with the railways which is passing through inside the tunnel. So it is basically dealing with Antwerp Central Station. So there are many stations in this research paper. It is from the Ghent University. Okay, so at their location, so it is Belgium. So in Belgium, the one of the railway station which is by Antwerp Central Station. So they are focusing on this particular station. So the emphasis of this paper is mainly placed on practical execution of the measurement and specific problems which encounters when the work is on. So what they have done to validate? So to validate the used method, a comparison is made between calculated and the measured values of concrete stresses. So you will get some measured values, right? What are the stresses being generated? So they are comparing these measured values with that of the calculated value. So they will identify what are the variation it is coming. So these stresses are mainly caused due to the tensioning operations. So that's what they want to reveal as. Okay. So this case study will be basically useful for the strain gauges applied to the surface of the concrete beams as a practical, fast and accurate way. So they are suggesting this as an accurate way to identify the strains which are come acrossing due to tensioning operations. So it is the best accurate way they are justifying, and it is fast also they are justifying, and it is more practically oriented and means it is more feasible to identify in this way what they want to justify. So this type of measurement of strain using strain gauges for the tension which come across the roof of the tunnel will be widely used everywhere where the civil engineering project comes into picture, where so it will be helpful for all the construction sites, because every civil engineering project will be having a beam structure. Without a beam structure you cannot build up a building, right? So anywhere you go with civil engineering projects, beam comes into picture. So when beam comes into picture, stress, strain, tension also comes into picture. So it is the best suitable way they do suggest to use the strain gauge and to identify the stress which has been generated due to the tension across the roof of the tunnels. So this is about the overview of the paper, what they want to tell us. So usually the introduction part tells you about why it is more important to identify the strain measurement across the beams, right? So it tells you about what are the protocols, what are the procedures being followed by various constructional companies to measure the strain gauges. So it is basically nothing but a literature survey about the method what they have followed in order to measure the strain across the beams, or it could be across the tunnel related to the railway projects. So these are the various literature survey parts what they have done. So similarly they just say there is figure 1 over here. I think it might be at the end. Just a second. No, they haven't mentioned the figures at all. Fine, leave it. I thought they had the diagrams. Yeah, they were supposed to give the diagrams, and I don't know why it has been misplaced. Okay, so first of all, the survey related to this was done around the year 19th century, right? So now it was related to metropolis on elevated rails. So this was being authored by Brussels and Gent. Okay, so what they say is railway lines coming from Basel and Gent entered the metropolis on elevated rails. So this started when the railways were started in Belgium in 19th century. Okay, so in 1905 a new and monumental station was built. They are saying, and this monumental station building was named as Antwerp Railway Cathedral. They say it is as shown in figure, but when I downloaded I didn't get any figures. I'm sorry for that. Okay, so this is how an Antwerp railway cathedral station was originated in the year 1905. So from then onwards, the urban road traffic was no longer disrupted by trains. So since the construction of this railway station, so there were no any urban road traffic disruption caused due to trains, because all level crossings were eliminated from the city. So the crossings of the railway tracks were eliminated from the city, and hence there were no traffic at all on the urban roadways. So the necessary structures, the station itself and the iron and masonry bridges are monumental constructions. So what they have used across to construct this station, so it is based on the iron and masonry bridges. So they have used the material of iron in order to construct this bridges, because bridges should be very strong enough and it should be capable of withstanding the load of the huge trucks or the vehicles or whatever is passing through it. So the load of the bridge material what you use should be able to substantiate the maximum weight of the vehicles which can pass through it at a single time. If that is not satisfied, so the bridge will get collapsed. So many times some new bridges get collapsed very easily if they have not done a proper groundwork in selecting the material which is feasible to withstand that particular weight. Okay, so this is very essential to select the right material, and if it is not capable enough, we should be at least trying to mix with some other material so we'll get the required amount of rigidity, strength and weight bearing capacity for the material what you are using. So in our case they have used iron for construction of the bridges. So they have constructed this in 1905. So for the last 30 years the railway engineers have been planning a link between the dead end station and the north with a tunnel under the city. So since 30 years these railway engineers have planned to provide a connectivity from the dead end station of Antwerp Central and the north with a tunnel under city, because there was no passage of transportation at all because it was a dead end, but still they wanted to plan and transportation between these two stations at least by providing a tunnel facility between it, so that it avoids a change of direction of the through trains via the Eastern Ring Rail. So in order to provide an comfort zone and a shorter duration travel so that it will be convenient for everyone, they have decided to provide an transportation through this tunnel. But the budgets could not be found for such tremendous work, but they didn't had a suitable amount of budget to perform that tremendous work during the period of 1970s to 1990s. But still, however, to the extension of European high-speed railway network through Belgium, now this has turned into the reality and they started constructing the work from north to south link which goes through the trains to the Netherlands, now being in progress. So now from Belgium to Netherlands, so now there is an progress of construction of the link. So that is connecting the north to that of the south link through the railway connectivity. So this execution of work began in 1998. So they had planned, they established the station in 1905. So after 1905, from they had an initialization to start this project since 1970s to 1990s. Okay, so but still there were failure of the budget, so all budgets were sanctioned by 1990s, but still they were able to start up this work only in 1998. They are foreseen to last for a period of 8 years. Okay, so the construction of north to south link can be divided into 4 zones, they say. So they bifurcated that into zone 1, zone 2, zone 3 and zone 4, and they also suggested how it will be. So the construction of southern access slope to level 1 and second between, actually this has to be explained with the diagram in the PDF. There is no diagram as such. I'm sorry, if I get, I will kindly share with this. So zone 1, they have given the specification which station it will be. Zone 2, it is under central station, and again zone 3, the construction of the two bore tunnels have to be done approximately for a meter of 1200 from the station to the north, and it has to be inclined to the level 2 as a cut and cover tunnel. So these are the required specification how 4 zones have to be. As per that, this is the given. So this is the last dead point, zone 4. So the work beyond the dam place to the north connecting to the existing line and new high speed line. So here both in the direction of the Netherlands. So these were the given zone criteria. But this paper is concerned mainly with measurements carried out within the framework of the construction between only these two stations, Barcham and the central station, because it is associated with the two bore tunnels, because they are focusing on the strain or the stress which has been induced on the roof of the tunnel. So only in those stations performance is been taken care in this paper. Okay, so this paper is concerning with some specific conditions related to these two stations. So the central station has to remain in service during the work, and 70% of the train traffic must be permanently able to reach the station, which has to dispose at least for 3 platforms at all the time. So this is one specific condition in central station where it has to provide the service during the whole day, and 70% of the train traffic must be permanently able to reach the station with respect to the given timings, and it has to dispose at least 3 platforms at all times. Every time it has to dispose for minimum 3 platforms. So that is one condition. So second condition was the tracks are flanked on each side by masonry retaining walls. So you'll be having the railway tracks which gets flanked off while the while the train moves on it, right? So these are called as centers, which are listed as monuments to be protected. So these monuments as well as the protected bridges under which the tunnel work must be carried out have to be preserved. So this tunnel through which it has been carried out across the protected bridges have to be preserved always. So this is the second criteria. And the last one is surface traffic on the major roads around the works cannot be interpreted at any cost, but road traffic can possibly be reduced to only a single lane. So there is an option for reducing the road traffic, but the surface traffic on the major roads around the work of these places cannot be interrupted at any cost. So these were the 3 conditions across the Brechem and the central stations which were put forward where the 2 tunnels are running out. So as per that, the construction was being made. So as per that, the construction specifications were being given. So here as a part of Antioch North-South Railway link, it constitutes of carrying a beam structure where post tensioning is applied. So this station consists of a beam structure. So where you have a tunnel. So where post tensioning is applied, right? So due to the railways which is moving on the track. So due to that, the tension created that we have to measure by using our strain gauge. So during the construction, what they have done, the eastern part of the beam is builted first and temporarily supported by board piles. So this eastern part of the beams were first constructed and it was supported by using the board piles. And next, the second part was constructed after allowing the 2 tracks to be in service during the execution of the work. So this is how they have bifurcated in construction such that it could be able to withstand the load and also with least amount of tension on the roof of the tunnel. And hence they have bifurcated this into the first part of construction, the second part of constructions. So after the tensioning operations, the beam left from the temporary support and becomes simply supported beam-like structures at both the ends on the slurry walls. So you know that every beam will be having 2 walls where it will be supported. So after these tensioning operations, the beams will be lifted from the temporary support and it becomes a simply supported with both ends across the slurry walls. Later, the latter becomes the final walls of the underground structure, extending several levels deeper. So these were, I have to share the figures to you all. Currently, I could not find. I will just share, please. Kindly bear with me. I could not get related to the material when I extracted. The later become the, oh, this is done. So these reinforced concrete walls. Okay, so later they are using the reinforced concrete walls which were made by using are made by the slurry wall method and go deep into the bloom cave. So this is basically into the civil concept. So where they mix the material, make the concrete wall and then reinforce the slurry wall so that it will be strong enough. So no need to focus much on the construction of the bridges. So they are showing the construction specifics, how these tunnels and the bridge were being constructed. So we'll move directly for the measurement of strain gauges where our subject actually lies with. So during the design stage, it was thought that many successive building phases and influence the efficiency of the post tensioning. So during the design, it was identified that many successive building phases will always influence the efficiency of the post tensioning. So the beams were furthermore rigidly connected to the walls in order to overcome this, and it resulted in causing a deformation of the walls when the cables are tensed. So whenever you know you have a beam and load is applied on it, it gets deformed if the material is not able to withstand the load applied, right? So that is called as a deformation, and it also resulted with the same. So this can be easily accounted for in the design. So if the deformation comes into picture, again it is basically directly accountable for the design what they have done. So there exists, however, a substantial ground mass behind the slurry walls, and hence a substantial groundwork will be affected because of the slurry walls, how well it is being supported. The walls what you are using for the support of the beam should be very strong enough, right? So it again depends upon the design as well as the slurry walls which are being constructed. So this partly stirred ground mass will be exavallated later, which can reduce part of the applied post tensioning. So this uniform compression by the post tensioning was not taken into the account while doing the calculation model. Every time you cannot directly go for construction of the bridges. First you have to do a mathematical modeling of it, do the simulation and run and check what is the load bearing capacity of that bridge, which material you are using, what are its physical properties, and you have to check, cross check. So when everything will be done successfully, and if it shows a proper result, then only the construction as per the design and the results of the simulation you can go forward. But in this case what they are telling is the uniform compression by the post tensioning was not taken into account at all when they have done the calculation model. So this there was a lacuna because due to some uncertainties what they have faced. So the uncertainties what they have faced is listed below. So only the lifting forces caused by the curvature of the cables were being considered, not the other remaining forces which comes into picture across the beam. And also as an extra precaution, 6 empty post tensioning ducts were placed in each cross beam. So you'll be having different cross beams along the length of the span of the beam. So they have considered only 6 empty post tensioning ducts in each cross beam, so which was in shortage basically for that huge project construction of the bridges, and this allowed an additional post tensioning operation. So since the post tensioning ducts which were placed were only 6, this resulted in adding on the post tensioning operations. Okay, so this was one more uncertainties. And lastly, they have also told it was believed that the combination of all precautions formed an easier and at least as reliable alternative for the use of replaceable post tensioning. So they have believed that the combination of all the precautions what they have taken formed a very easiest and the least way to get relied as an alternative for the use of various post tensioning precautions, so which can be replaceable also, but still to allow for quick decision making about the necessity of extra post tensioning will always need for an quickly feasible and reliable measurement data, because they have to measure quickly whenever some post tensioning data which is in lacuna which has been formed due to deformation or due to the wrong selection of the material in the slurry wall. To identify why these post tensioning are coming into picture, you need some immediate results. To get some immediate results, you should be having some quickly measuring instruments which fetches you the data of the stress, the strain or the tension at a faster rate. And hence, in order to get a quickly feasible and reliable measurement data of the tension, the stress and the strain, they have focused on the need of strain gauges devices. So hence they are using strain gauges as a measurement method for concrete stresses, because they use concrete material to bridge the wall, right, to construct the wall and also for the beam structure. So it basically depends upon what is the combination of the concrete material they are using. So based on that you can substantiate what is the capacity of the bridge, which is the maximum amount of the load it can bear, right? So when a deformation occurs, when a deformation does not occurs, it all depends upon the combination of the optimized mixture what you select for forming your concrete walls, yeah, bridges. And hence here they are using a very good method which is quick, accurate and a precise one as part of our strain gauge devices. So here you have to now focus. Many testing methods are available to measure concrete stresses. Working with measurement equipment built into beam did not seem very realistic when taking into consideration the difficult working conditions. So when difficult working conditions were being considered, measurement of the strain using the strain gauges were not very much realistic. Why? All beams were constructed with an extremely dense placement of the normal reinforced bars, because you'll be using the reinforced bars also as a pillars, right? Because all beams were constructed by using normal reinforcement bars, which provided complication options, and hence the high working speed of the construction site is always necessitated with the swift measurement method. So what do you call by the swift measuring method? So this will provide you the concept of measurement virtually with less amount of time, so which can interpret the results and notwithstanding the need for evaluation of the results. So it provides a quick interpretation of the results which is readable virtually rather than identifying an evaluation about the result, because it takes time consumption, right? So they opt for swift measurement method. Built-in equipment would have needed placement during the working stops and need sufficient damage protection of all the equipment. So while construction, these built-in equipment should be always provided with the safeguard and protection to overcome the damages caused to it. So due to this impossibility to work with built-in system, a permanent monitoring system was excluded. So before they thought that they will embed along with the walls of the bridge with a permanent monitoring system which will be having the devices which can sense the stress and the strain. But since this was overruled. So then later they came into a technique called as highly sensitive measurement techniques, which were not advisable since the activity of the construction site could not be interrupted, and since nearly constant railway traffic on top of the completed part of structure was required for both, resulting in a wide variety of interference sources. Those, they say that initially they thought about swift measurement, even that was overloaded, and later they thought they will embed with permanent monitoring system based on the swift measurement, which did not work properly. Later they came across highly sensitive measuring techniques, so even that was not advisable enough because the work here cannot be interrupted, and since nearly constant railway traffics are there from different stations, this was overruled. So the civil engineer department of Ghent University had previous experience with the use of longer strain gauges, but one of the professor from the civil engineering department of Ghent University had experience of using this long strain gauges. Okay, so he just wanted to put his insight how it could be optimized or fine-tuned to yield with a proper result. So what he suggested is on the railway viaduct, a composite steel concrete structure with relatively low concrete stresses could be measured during the passing of the test train. So when you want to check the trial, so when you pass and test train on the railway track, right, on the tunnel, so a composite steel concrete structure could be applied and it could check the relative stresses measured when you make intentionally pass a test train to pass through it. So these measurements delivered satisfactory results when compared to the calculated values because this professor had experience on working on long strain gauges. So he wanted to use this idea. So in order to check, they trialed with composite steel concrete structures which certainly showed some relevant values with respect to the calculate values when they compared. So measuring the strain directly on the concrete surface seemed contradictory at the initial. Why? Because of non-homogeneous composition of the base materials selected. However, but still it had certain advantages because the measured and the calculated values was almost near to the same value it was mapping, and the methodology which was selected by this professor of Jain University also provided an proper advice which material to be selected. So they have used a composite of steel concrete structure. Okay, so it came out with certain advantages. But later it was told there is no need to convert the measured strain values acquired from the gauges directly to the passive reinforcement bars. So they're telling it is not necessary to convert the measured strain values, okay, to the passive reinforcement bars of the strains which are surrounded around the concrete. Why? This conversion is in most cases quite dubious because the exact location of the strain gauge after pouring of the concrete and the thickness of the concrete cover is guesswork at the best. You will not be knowing exactly the quantified amount of conversion you are doing it because it again basically depends upon what is the mixture of the concrete which is being used on the bridges as well as on the walls, the supporting walls, and hence it is not advisable to convert the strain induced from the bridges across the reinforcement bar. It has been suggested. So when it is applied directly on the reinforced bar, the strain gauges will also be capable of sensing even a small damage because the strain gauges are very sensitive. So even they can sense and provide you the deformation, the stress or the strain based on the very least amount of load applied on it because it is highly sensitive to any type of damage which can come across, and this was experienced by many research group of the people who worked on the strain gauges. So these people used more comfortable environment such as pre-tensioning factory effects. So it has been provided in the survey of the paper too. So this is how they show even though using strain gauges as a measurement device did not work in the beginning, they were able to apply the concept of strain measuring instrument by using a specific material, composite steel concrete structure. So this idea came because he was well versed in using the longer strain gauge. So that's what I want to suggest you. Even though you read the theoretical concept, the experience along with the theoretical concept will help you to explain or help you to understand the things what it is exactly, and this also helps to play with the materials which will be suitable for which application. And as along with the strong theoretical background, you should be also having some experience related to the area on which you want to work or in which you want to excel. Then even though with respect to any complexity of level, you will be able to at least show a ray of work telling that this could be feasible, we can at least try because I have worked on it. So you'll be able to substantiate yourself that it could be possible. So in any area of work, either in education or anywhere you go as a professional engineer, it helps you always. So because of these diversions and reasons, the decision was made to perform a repetition of measurement using the strain gauges on the surface of the concrete cross beams. So these experience factors, so these trial and error effect to measure the strain finally justified that a repetition of measurements using strain gauges across the surface of concrete crossbeam is very essential to identify the post tensioning which is coming across the railway tracks under the tunnels. So this is the importance of strain gauges in the railway construction projects across the place Belgium, which was put forward by two professors, Hans D. Backer and Walter D. Cotte. Okay, so in the next class, I will just share you up the detailed description related to the conclusion part, and also I'll just share you there are many figures related to each part. I'm not able to share right now. I'll share in the Google Classroom. So if you just go through these illustrations across the different stations, how they have constructed the wind tunnel, right? So where are the strain gauges placed at which angle? So how they were able to compare the calculated and the measured tensioning forces. You will come into an exact clear picture, the importance of strain gauge in actual. Okay, so I will just share you all other details in the Google Classroom later. So currently I'm stopping here. It is 9:40. If anyone have not written your name and USN, kindly add on. Any guys here from B3 batch who haven't submitted the record here? I don't find anyone other than Tarun. And one more information, there will be third internals which has been announced and it has been shared to you guys. It is not like an compulsory that you have to write the third internals. If you want to fine tune your IA marks, if you are interested to write, you are always welcome. So the portion for the test will be the last module, module 5. So I will be giving you all 5 full questions. So in that you should answer any 3. So each question will be carrying 10 marks each. So it will be for 30 as usual. And module 5. If anyone is interested in taking, so you can take it out. Timetable for the same will be announced later. So as per the timetable, you will be writing the descriptive answers, and in the similar way how you uploaded in the Google Classroom for the second IA, in the same way you need to apply for third IA also. Any doubts, you're free to ask right away. Abhishek? Tarun, are you interested in writing third IA?
Well, we'll see. I'll see into it. What
Yeah,
will be
yeah.
the timing? Like, since the number of questions are reduced, will time also reduce?
Oh, you need to answer 3 questions, right? The marks is same. For
So it'll be
30
for 1.5
marks,
hours.
because you need to upload also all the things along with the timetable schedule. You'll be getting the timings and all, the date, when, how you will be having. Currently, I'm just telling you the syllabus and the
Okay.
pattern of the question. So inform others, those who are not there in the class, anyone interested to prepare accordingly. Okay. I'll just share the case study in the Google Classroom with the pictures so you people can go through it. So you can just relate the theoretical concept of the case study with the diagrams, because when I downloaded, I did not get any figures as such. I have to track in another way and get the diagrams. Okay. Fine then. Take care. Have a good day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Bye bye.